Hi, this is Robert R. Anthill, and you are now watching this disabled dude react to stuff. And some of that stuff pertains to English, which I am a major of. Alright, let's speak this clearly. Hi, my name is Samuel R. Antfire, and you are now watching this channel where I suck at introductions, man. But like, subscribe, share, link, post, I don't know. But like, share, and subscribe, because why not? So, full disclaimer, I recorded half of this video already. Then I said, fuck it, and just deleted it. I mean, not deleted it, but stopped recording. So I will definitely have reacted to some of this, but not to you guys, if that makes sense. Alright, now let's get started again.
This video is kindly sponsored by Squarespace.
Here.
Let's do this! I had a lot of fun researching this one. A gaggle of geese, a kindle of kittens, a bike of bees, a shrewdness of apes. English has all kinds of silly and strange words for when a load of one thing hang out with one another.
Shrewdness of apes, I like, and bike of bees.
Be they animals or be they people. Some you've heard of, some you probably haven't. These collective nouns, as they're known, raise many questions, like what's so murderous if nouns heard of, some you probably haven't.
Business of ferrets. A business of ferrets. Huh. Okay.
These collective nouns, as they're known, raise many questions, like what's so murderous about a murder of crows? How can a school of fish be a school? Where on earth did all these come from? So
oh, I didn't read that last time.
Fish be a school? Where on earth did all these come from?
Swarm of wasps, that one makes sense. Watch of nightingales, that kind of makes sense. Walk of snails. I imagine like a funky little snail. Walk of like just walking along, like jamming, like in a snail, whatever. Parliament of rooks. Do they mean like a chess piece? Rook. Parliament of rooks. Impatience of wives. I don't know if that's serious, like that's what it's really called, or if that's just a little joke. But impatience of wives, that's awesome. Fighting back. That's awesome too. I'm sorry. Murmuration of starlings. That's cool. That semi makes sense. Semi a little bit. Fighting beggars, that totally makes sense. The swarm of wasps, that one makes sense.
From. So what weird and wonderful ones do we have, and where did we get them? Let's find out in another Rob Words. A peculiarity of English is just how many words for specific groups of animals, people, or things there are. I don't know if speakers of other languages have so many collective nouns at their disposal. The interesting thing is, though, it wasn't always the case. So many of these collective nouns spring from the same period, the 15th century. They were coined in their hundreds in what were known as courtesy books. These had titles like The Complete Gentleman or Proper Terms, and aimed to describe to
chivalry. They're teaching chivalry, basically.
Aspiring young courtiers how to behave in polite company. You'd need to know and use these terms correctly in order to ever be accepted as a true...
My bad. This is where I was up to. I only watched a minute 40 seconds. So not in the middle. I stopped recording a minute 40 seconds in.
True gent. The most prolific coiner of collective nouns was the writer of a fantastic yet bewildering book called The Book of St. Albans, or The Book of Hawking, Hunting and Heraldry. As well,
Hawking, hunting, and heraldry. That's awesome. I like it when people were chivalrous, because that's chivalry. That's basically how to behave as a man, and people need that. I mean, not like not like not like this is the definitive guide of being a man, but a general guide to push men in the right direction, how to take responsibility for their actions, how to be men, because people don't remember, it seems. But I guess they thought people didn't remember as well, so who knows.
As well as offering explanations of how best to hunt, train a hawk, or behave in court, often through
Behave in court, that was a good one. Train a hawk and hunt, those are antiquated by now.
through the medium of rhyme, it describes the terms
Hold on, I want to see a rhyme.
in court, often through the medium of rhyme.
I don't know what that is. Me, Dukule, Kalil, his dear of Bez and of hints. Kind of, buck and of two. Where you, cause I know it's whatever. Ye, hem, via, find. Okay, sure.
It describes the terms
Oh, that's hind. Okay.
for groups of all manner of animals, and indeed people. Under the title, The Companies of Beasties and Fowlies, I found over 160 of them. It was printed in the late 1400s on what some say was only the third printing press ever in England. As such, the language is pretty dense. So I popped a page of these on my Twitter in the hope of getting some help from my followers in deciphering them, and we spotted some absolute gems. Check out
Really
A
gems.
Clattering of Chuffs, A Watch of Nightingales.
Wait.
Check out A Clattering of Chuffs,
Chops? The fuck is a chop?
A Watch of Nightingales, A Walk of Snails, A Herd of Harlots, and my
I heard they got the normal one. Harlots got the normal one.
personal favourite, A Business of Ferrets. Thanks to everyone who pitched
I like that one too.
in, including all of these guys here, although there were others. But that is just one page of a list that lasts for 3 pages. Buried elsewhere are a mute of hounds, a skulk of foxes, a covert of coots,
Wait, what the fuck?
a skulk of
You ain't seen me right. Okay.
foxes, a covert of coots, and a lot of, at times, unflattering collective nouns for people too. There's a fighting of beggars, a gaggle of, not geese, but women, a noon patience or impatience of wives for extra misogyny points, a threatening of courtiers, an abominable sight of monks, and a drunk ship of cobblers. I am never going to get bored of that list. Let me just bring it up again. Click pause here if you like and have a look for yourself, and let me know of any good ones that you spot.
Heard of lady, heard of rooms, heard of seg. I can't even read most of this. Beagle of geese. Oh, no, gaggle. This is gaggle. Okay. Okay. I can't read a lot of these, or rather I can, but it's gonna take some time too, so no.
And pop them in the comments. I'll give you a few seconds.
Actually, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's ask ChatGPT. Sorry, I keep doing that. My throat is making noises. So let's see. And one photo and two photos. Can you write these in like normal English, current daily English? And let's see. It's not sending. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. God damn. And herd of all manners. Okay. And horde of swan. Okay. A flock of swans. A flock of cranes. A herd of colts. A herd of animals. A pride of lion. A sleuth of oxen. A shrewdness of apes. A murder of crows, of course. A muster of peacocks. A congregation of people. A flock of sheep. A skulk of foxes, a rout of knights, a superfluity of nuns, a tip of geese, a set of whatever. Okay, so basically, yeah, awesome.
And we're back.
I'm gonna read these later though.
Back. Now, some of those had already appeared in similar documents, but it is thought that the writer, or writers, we're not sure the same person wrote the entirety of it, of the Book of St. Albans coined many of them, some of them actually as a joke. This was written at a monastery and it refers to a group of nuns as a superfluity, suggesting that, any more than a couple is too many. But despite apparently being more or less generated out of nowhere during this period, some, although by no means all, of these collective nouns did catch on, and I'm going to talk through some of those and the origins of many more of our collective nouns after a quick word.
I can do rings. I just can't do rings now, I guess. The AC is on, whatever.
About this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Now, Squarespace helped me to set up my website, robwords.com, and they can help you too, because they empower individuals to create their online
blah, 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 blah,
10% of the one being coined from the a gaggle of geese with then. So, an enjoyable one to say is a gaggle of geese. You've probably heard it, and it does appear to have been coined in the late 15th century. I suppose it's onomatopoeic and comes from the sound that geese sort of make. A gaggle of geese is in the Book of St. Albans, but it didn't immediately die out like most of the others. You could then find uses of it over the centuries that followed and up to the present day. Another one that caught on from the Book of St. Albans was the word litter to refer to a group of newborn animals. The book refers to a litter of whelpies.
I thought it was like a scientific thing. Cool.
Which are young dogs or wolves.
But I guess it's a meme thing, because these are memes, basically. Huh.
Wolves. That was actually used by Shakespeare and has been in young dogs or wolves. That was actually used a litter of whelpies, which are young dogs or wolves. That was actually used by Shakespeare. And
the reason I'm skipping around, by the way, is because of my OCD, kind of. Sometimes I can control it, sometimes I cannot. Let's see.
And has been in continuous usage ever since.
But I can always control it, because it's all in my mind. But it's just up to me. So I choose to cut out the OCD.
Incidentally, the Book of St. Albans also has a term for young cats. It says a kindle. Yes, a kindle of kittens. Kindle was a small child, or kind. German actually still has the word kindle. I drink this beer sometimes with a creepy little lad popping out of a beer jug. I don't know what the idea is there. Are we supposed to be drinking him? Anyway, I appear to have been sidetracked by beer. Back on track. A murmuration of starlings took up residence in the public consciousness in the 15th century, with references recorded through to the present day, and you may have come across that one. The brilliant bike of bees retained its currency right through to the late 19th century, which might be why you haven't heard of it, but it was being used right up until the point when bike started to mean bicycle. However, most of the terms generated in the 15th century disappeared.
What did bike used to mean?
Never to be
Anyone know? Drop it in the comments.
used again, so long a shrewdness of apes, except of course in articles or silly little videos like this one about weird 15th century collective nouns. But as well as those that died and those that lived on, there is a third category, those that have been resurrected. And a lot of the unusual collective nouns that you may be aware of fall into this category. Among them is a murder of crows, this creepy and rather morbid term.
Squawky McSquawkerson. I should use that as my name sometimes. Squawky McSquawkerson.
A reference to the screaming sound that crows make, or their tendency to linger around the corpses.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Like, I feel bad because I'm like clearing my throat all the time. But that's what it is today. So,
of other animals, it's unpleasant whatever way you think about it. But a murder of crows was among those coined in the 15th century. There are, however, no traces of it being used for the 500 years that followed. Then, all of a sudden, bam! In the 20th century, it's back. It would appear that every half a millennium or so we develop a fashion for using strange collective terms, because much as there was a frenzy to create them back in the 1400s, in the 1900s there appears to have been an extraordinary effort to resurrect them. Another that has received the same treatment is a Parliament of Owls, which conjures up a frankly adorable image. You can
I heard that before, I think, or maybe I heard that here in this video. I don't know. I forget.
also have a Parliament of Rooks as well. That usage of Parliament disappeared for hundreds of years, only to be brought back vividly to life in the 20th century in ornithology books, so books about birds. Also on this list, although I must say I'd never heard of it before researching this video, is an unkindness of ravens. Again,
I have nothing to say.
all over the place in the 1400s.
The shoes, though.
Nothing for 500 years, then core blind.
Hold on. I raise issue. Unkindness and you look ridiculous? Nah, not at all. That's constructive criticism, my friend.
Me, it's back.
Friends. I'm assuming I'll have more than one subscriber. So, friends.
Have you noticed that so many of these words seem to be bird related? Well, I was wondering if bird watchers actually make use of these. So I asked the UK's Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, the RSPB, and they kindly asked around for me. They came back with an answer and said, birders would rarely use these collective terms. They would more likely state the number of birds they've seen or an estimate. So they need a bit more precision than a general murder of crows. Okay, so why are so many of these words about birds?
Instructions unclear. Now I have a bunch of dead crows. Fuck.
If they're not being used by people who talk about birds. Of course, the main reason is that they were mainly coined in books about hawking. Plus, in 15th century England, birds were as exciting as the British wildlife got. I mean, the Book of St Albans does include a leap of leopards, but I bet very few people ever had cause to use it.
I want to use all of these, kind of. Like, I really want to use a bunch of these. Oh, look, this is superfluity of nouns. Superfluid. I don't know how to pronounce the word. Fuck.
Anyway, looking beyond the coining frenzy of the 15th century, there are, of course, well-established collective nouns that we do use, and with histories that extend well back beyond the 1400s. Take, for example, the word school, used to refer to a group of fish. Now, Old English being spoken, up until the 11th century, 1,000 years ago, had the word skolu, meaning a group. It's thought that even then, in nautical...
I thought school of fish was like, not scientific, but I thought like it was, I didn't think it came from the book, but I guess not, because skolu means group.
Circles, it may also have been used specifically for a group of fish. Later, we end up with the word school, like we have now, which is believed to have been influenced by this Dutch...
Oh, that makes sense. It's a gathering. School is a gathering.
...word. It therefore has a different root to the school where you go to learn. That one comes from this thoroughly Greek word. Anyway, back to fish.
So never mind what I said then. Never
appear
mind.
to have re-imported the Dutch word in the 16th century and turned it into the wholly unnecessary school. So that's why we have school and school, which are basically interchangeable. School could also refer to a group of whales.
I never heard of show used to describe a school or as synonymous with school. What the fuck?
But these days people seem to prefer the word pod, which was originally used for dolphins and the like. It appears that we've made the change on purpose to stress that whales are mammals, not fish. Out of the water and onto dry land, and indeed up in the sky, let's talk about the word flock. Now, flock is used for birds, sheep, goats and Christians, I suppose. And it goes all the way back to Old English too, where it was spelt like that. Also, the Vikings hanging around in England and Scotland would have had the word flocker in Old Norse. Back then,
you mother flocker.
It meant an assemblage of people, not just followers of Christ though, and is possibly related to the word folk. Now be careful with this next one. It's swarm. Now I know this one must go way back because here
I knew that was coming.
in Germany the word is Schwarm, and indeed it does. Old English had it in this form here, and there are a lot of really interesting theories about where it comes from. One is that it's related to the Sanskrit svarati, meaning sound, and also the Latin word susurrus and Low German surren, which...
I love how languages are like connected. Like, I wonder, I don't know, they say Aramaic was the first one, but there must have been like a language before that, like a fringe language, you know what I mean? Like, huh. And was it inspired by an Aramaic? I don't know.
Refer specifically to a...
And I know that Aramaic didn't have like writing, as far as I know.
Humming sound. Makes sense for a bunch of buzzy bees, right? Another theory is that swarm originally referred to the movement of the group, specifically the agitated, erratic motions of the swarm. There's actually this Norwegian dialect word apparently, svarme, that means to be sort of giddy. This would also mean that swarm has the same root as swerve. Now I just want to swerve in a different direction and talk about some of the fraudsters out there. Look around the internet as I've just done, and you'll find lots of lists of hilarious collective nouns, but some of the ones they give you on these lists, I just can't find any trace of them having been ever used anywhere. And you can tell by looking at them that they weren't coined in the 15th century in England. Please put me straight if you've ever heard anyone actually refer to a rumba of rattlesnakes, a shiver of sharks, supposedly because seeing one makes you shiver, a crash of rhinos, I do love the sound of it, but not sure that's a genuine one, and lastly, a glaring of cats.
These all sound genuine, because that was the meme book as far as he made me think. And these are all legit then. These are all valid, not legit, valid.
Now this one has definitely done the rounds, but the slot for flimsy feline collective nouns is already oversubscribed with the Kindle of kittens that we already spoke about, and clouder of cats. Clouder, incidentally, is just a variant of clutter. Now, if I've missed your favourite, stick it in the comments. I'd also welcome some of your own creations, perhaps. I can get the ball rolling with an oversubscription of YouTubers. If you have enjoyed this video, I think you're really going to like my video about so-called ghost words, the words that should never have made it into the dictionary. Or, just let YouTube tell you which of my videos to watch next. And I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.
Alright, so let's talk about the video. The video was cool. Now I'm gonna be done with it. So like, subscribe, and